Hello, Namaste. I welcome you all to the 68th session of GURUBODHA. I dedicate this and all of my works at the holy feet of Dr. A. Chandrasekhar Udupa. This class is made live exclusively to Easy Ayurveda weekly class subscribers. If you want to do that, please go to easyayurveda.com/video-classes. The links are there in the video description below the YouTube video. And coming to the topic, this is actually a continuation. Still, there are two or three points which are not clear to many of the students, so we are taking that up. The first question is making of takra or buttermilk. A student writes, I take whole grass-fed cream, not milk, just the cream, boil it, add a little bit of curd, ferment it, and then add 4 parts of water and churn it. It separates in butter and white water. Is that proper way to make takra or buttermilk? Gururaja sir, there are few points in it that the cream part of the milk is usually collected, and that is collected for few days, and then it is fermented. That is the standard way of making the navanita or butter. But in making the buttermilk, the full milk is used, not just the cream, sir.
I don't know why these type of variations usually floats in the market, and many times the people go with these type of new generations. But very clearly, how our the elders, the grandmothers were used to do it very clearly. Every day, the milk which is produced, it is been taken and it is boiled. Once it is boiled and cooled, on the surface of it, we get a cream, and that cream we use to separate it and keep it in a vessel. And this type of procedure continues for usually for a period of 1 week of time. And whatever the cream is collected in 1 week, usually that will be kept in the fridge or something like that. Then we churn it with little bit of water, adding or without even adding the water, we churn it. So when we churn it, automatically the navanita gets separated, and whatever the remnant water is there, it is white in color, thin white in color, and that is why we call it as a buttermilk. This is the easiest way and the commonest way what we have noticed. But now the things have changed, and people are they will take the milk, boil it, and leave it as it is, make it a curd by putting some curd into that, making fermented it, then churning it. Then that also can give you the navanita as well as the buttermilk. So both ways can be done, and that is the ideal way of making takra. But not simply taking the curd, mixing it with water and shaking it or churning it or diluting it and call it as takra. No, that is not takra.
Thank you, there, sir. And another point which was not very clear from the last description was that with what we can take buttermilk and with what we should not take. There is a mention of like a sitopala or the sita, the candy sugar, which is mentioned, and the reference for that is found like with what we should take or we should not take. So this is from Ashtanga Sutra Sana, 5th chapter. It says Amlapakam Rasam Grahi Gurushnam Dadi Vatajit Meda Shukra Balashleshma Pitta Rakta Agni Shofakrat. So means Amlapaka Rasa. It has sour taste and sour vipaka, Grahi absorbent, Guru heavy to digest, Ushna hot, Dadi, and it balances Vata Dosha very well. And it can increase, Krut means to increase. It can increase Meda fat, Shukradatu, Bhala, strength, Shleshma, Kapha and Pitta dosha. It can increase. Pitta and Rakta is also mentioned, means it can increase bleeding tendencies or can potentially vitiate Rakta Dhatu or blood tissue and blood related disorders, and it can increase Agni, and also if someone has inflammation or shofa, it can increase that also. Rochishnu, it improves the taste, perception capacity, and useful in Aruchi, and Shitaka Vishamajvara, there also it's useful. Peenasa also it's useful, difficult in urination, somewhat useful. Dry. And this is where the trouble point is, or where it needs a little bit of explanation. It says Naivadyan Nishi, Naiva Ushnam, Vasanta Ushna Sharatsu Na, Namudgasupam Nakshaudram, Tanna Grita Sitopalam. Naivadyan Nishi means in the night, it should not be taken. Naiva Adya, some people say it as morning, and some people say it as like in the first part of the meals, it should not be taken upfront. Nishi, it should not be taken in the night. Nai Voshnam, it should not be heated. Vasanta Ushna Sharatsu, during spring summer and autumn seasons it's not good. There was a question in the last class asking whether can it be taken in the rainy season. So it can be taken during rainy season, because only spring, autumn, and grishma or summer is told as not so good. Na means no. Na amudga supam means without using mudga soup or green gram soup, it's not so congenial. Na akshotram, it can be taken with honey, and also it can be taken with grita and sitopala, meaning sugar and candy sugar and ghee can be taken along with it. Nacha anamalakam, without amalaka also it's not so very good to take curd. And na api nityam, it's not ideal to take curd, consume curd every day. No mandya manyata. Manda here, the commentator, when we get into that, he says that manda means like the sweet curd which is just getting formed. Just in the transformation stage, the full sour curd is not formed. Just the initial sweet curd is not so very ideal. And it is also not good in like a fever and in blood-borne disorders, Pitta, Visarpa, Kushta, many of the skin diseases also is not so good to say, good to take. Even in Pandu or anemia or early stage of liver disorders, Brahma, dizziness, Pitta-related problems, it's not so very good to take. And coming to the explanation of it.
Yeah, it's very clear from this. First two lines, it explains about its potential, what dadi or curd can do. So very clearly we need to understand. Here we are talking about the fresh and which is little bit amla paka, which is but not in the taste itself. Taste will also be having little bit of amlata in that, but it will not be so sour. So it should be somewhat little bit of mudra, it should be there. But Acharya very specifically mentions it is amla, paka and rasa. So there will be soreness, means soreness will be dominating the madhur rasa here. Madhur rasa, even though it is there, even kashaya rasa is also presenting to some extent, that will not be highlighted in front of the amla rasa. That is one point number. Second thing, which is capable of what it can do, it can improve medas, it can improve shukra, it can improve bala, it can improve sleshma, pitta, rakta, agni. Along with that, anything is these doshas or dhatus, it increases beyond certain limit because of the continuous usage of these curd, then it may cause a disease of that particular thing. It may even cause related with the slesha pitta, or even it may cause shofa, and it is good and it improves the ruchi, and it is very good in certain disease conditions like Peenasa, where there is continuous dribbling from the nose, or rhinitis, what we call usually, or in case of Mutra Kruchra, it will be good. And in Grahani Dosha, this is good. This is what the explanation goes in that way. And as you pointed out very clearly, where it should not be consumed alone, that is important. We should not consume dadi alone. That is the one, Naivadyam, Nishi, Naivoshnam, Vasante, Sharato. These are the places where we should not consume dadi alone. It should not be consumed in the morning with the first thing, or it should not be at the end, and it is Ushna in nature, or it should not be boiled and taken. It should not be consumed in Vasanta, Sharad Rutu as well as in Grishma Rutu. But we find it across northern India, very commonly people consume lassi throughout the year, and it will be very common even during the summer seasons. Definitely if you consume that one as a regular thing, then definitely it is going to lead to lot of kushta condition. That is the reason we are happen to see a lot of kushta diseases nowadays. Then very clearly said, if you want to take it curd, then what should be mixed with? Curd should not be taken as alone. Then you can mix it with mudga supa, or you can mix it with kshaudra, you can mix it with grita, you can mix it with sitopala, or you can mix it with amlaki churna, something like that, and you can take it. And similarly, ill-formed or not even properly formed, or many times it so happens that we put some curd for the fermenting, and the morning we notice that it is not properly formed. So that is called as mandaka dadi. And that type of mandaka dadi should not be consumed because it's going to cause diseases. And definitely if you consume excessive of curd in large quantities, it leads to jwara, asruk, pitta, visarpa, kushta, pandu, brahma, and these diseases. But I have seen any person, one who is having presently nowadays, the tendency is that most of the people from the urban sector, they will be giving a lot of exercises to their mind rather than their physical body. They'll be working with the computer and the system, and throughout the day they will be working, and even night working, and even while working they will be eating. So such type of people, if you go on consuming this curd, then definitely they'll land up in some sort of obesity, and there will be some sort of endocrinial dysfunctions, and that leads to, in case of a woman, it is hair loss, or it may be PCOD or a thyroid issues, and similarly, in case of a male, it may be infertility, diabetes, or obesity. So we need to be very cautious about this. How to use it? It's a beneficial one. It should be used in a typical manner to increase its beneficial effects on the body, and how to avoid its the negative effect on the body, that we should know it.
Thank you, sir. And also just a few comments. Indication in Peenasa. Peenasa roughly translates to say running nose or rhinitis. In that Peenasa Shasamiti Katam, this is from Sarvanga Sundari commentary. Katam Avisheshena Uktam means why Peenasa is specifically told. Yataschatwara Peenasaha Vata Pitta Kapha Sannipataja iti Vakshante. There are 4 types of Peenasa: Vataja, Pittaja, Kapha, and Sannipataja. But the curd can increase Pitta and Kapha, but it can decrease Vata. That's why the commentator continues saying, Tatra Dadno Vatadika Eva Yuktatvam, means Vata curd of all the ifs and buts conditions can balance Vata dosha very well. Atra Sanjakshmahe Paripakat Peenasas Upashantihi, meaning in Vataja type of Peenasa it is useful. And because it can slightly increase Pitta and Kapha dosha, it causes rhinitis to undergo paka. In other times, it helps in turning sort of dry rhinitis into a productive rhinitis, which is one of the stages of its healing. So paripaka karam chadadi ushnatvat. So because of its hotness, it is useful in vataja, this one, vataja type of rhinitis. And nishi naiva na kinchit dadyat, meaning in all terms and conditions, taking curd at night is not recommended. Naivadya nishi naivoshna mityeva kara atyantika nishedhaya, means clearly it is not so very much recommended there. Ratro nisheda diva bhunjita tirtha davagamyate, means night it is not recommended, so during daytime it can be taken. Naivoshnam agnyadi tapa taptam, meaning it should not be heated, but there are some recipes with with curd heating, but still not so recommended as per Ayurveda. Naivoshnam agnyadi, okay, that's done. Vasanta Grishma Ritu seasons we have covered. Anyartavapi mudgasupadinam anyatamaneva rahitam na bhojyam. Apart from these, in other some circumstances also, without green gram soup and the ghee or the sitopala or the cane sugar, etc., whichever amla, whichever has been explained, amlaki, without them curd should not be taken. Tatra kruta sitopalayoh samamshikatayoreva yogena patyatvam michanti. So it can be taken in equal quantity when it is added with ghee and sugar. Mudga supadina to mishri bhavo dadnya janya manasya doshasya pratibandhartam kalpate. So whatever the rakta increasing, pitta increasing, vitiating effects of curd is there, that gets negated out. Doshasya pratibandhartam, means it gets balanced out when it is mixed with, say, green gram soup and all those other things mixed. Mandaka, as Gururaja has rightly pointed out, it's just the transformative stage. Dugdhavastam vyatitya dadi avastam asampraptam antarala vartihi. Clearly mentions that at that stage of when it is undergoing curdling, is not milk. It has left the stage of milk, but it is getting into the stage of curd, but not there yet. Ama, it's called as mandaka. And it is also seen like in case of like sprouted grains also, it is seen that because it is like one form of grain or pulse or anything is getting transformed into another form. In that stage is not so very ideal, because nutrition sort of is not very well very well settled or formed nutritional components. So also is explained here. Probably that answers all the questions regarding the last class. Coming to a few of the questions here. Do we need to churn curd and consume every time we use curd in our diet? Not very much required. churning every time before consumption.
No, there is no need for churning.
Yeah, and there is question like, can we take Jaggery with curd? It can increase Kapha and Pitta both, and Jaggery can potentially increase Kapha dosha.
As well as Pitta, because it is Ushna in nature. Jaggery is also Ushna in nature, so that also can increase the condition.
Yeah, already there are a lot of ifs and buts conditions put. Better not to try new ingredients.
Those who are particularly the women, those who are in periods, or those who are in that type of conditions, or those who are having a disturbance in their menstrual cycle, and they have a tendency of heavy bleeding during periods, they should avoid these things, combinations, because they are having a potential to cause or increase the conditions.
Next, there is sour curd is good, or is sweet fresh curd good to consume? Sour curd, its explanation is that sweet is also not so very different. Just that
Sweet curd, which we call as, which is dominantly marking the soreness of a curd, and it is a very, very fresh one that can be taken. But once we could able to identify the soreness in that, that is a real curd. And from that onwards, if you consume more of the curd, then the effect of Ati Amlarasa yoga on body, it will take place. So we need to be cautious that how much is required for myself, that needs to be understood, because we cannot have a blanket opinion just simply that this is good for everybody, this is bad for everybody. That cannot be done. It is the individual thing, even based on the body nature and based on our prakriti and the places where we are living and our agni shakti, everything plays a role. And definitely consuming curd, which is very, very amla in nature, may trigger acidity because of its amlarasa, because its vipaka is also amlata. So that we need to be taken care of all those things. That's the reason Acharya said, no, don't consume the curd alone. Mix it with either sitopala, mix it with grita, mix it with mudga supa, mix it with all these things. That's the reason they are quoted.
There's a question like, can cow's milk go through changes in rainy season? Cow's milk balances or decreases Pitta and Vata dosha and can potentially support, let's say, support or increase Kapha. Does it have more Vata since Vata is aggravated in nature in us? These things, I mean, cow milk and all the dairy products or any food ingredient, due to the effect of season, there could be very minor change in how it behaves.
Minor changes there may be, I can tell. So because seasonal impact, when speaking about Rutucharya, especially while explaining Sharad Rutu, the Acharyas have said that there is an impact of the season over the food and crops and everything which is growing in and around us. So considering that, if certain rules are applicable for all the seasons, the cow's milk we get from the cow itself. Cow eats certain plants and other things, saying that also we can consider that during Varsha Rutu, there is considerable amount of Vata increase, not only in the persons, animals, and also in everything flora and fauna in and around us. Might be slight changes may be there according to the seasonal impact over the foods may be there. Yeah, so we can consider slight changes, not maybe gross.
But that would not mean, correct me if you're wrong, that suddenly cow milk would become Vata increase.
No. Suddenly it might not become sudden changes might not be there. So because nowadays whatever we are taking, we are not taking the milk directly from the cow. So it has undergone so much of process, pasteurization and all those things before coming to us. And anyhow, we are keeping it in the refrigerator, cooling it, and then we may have an extra stock of milk. So after half liter is emptied, then we remove the other half liter from the freezer and heat it. So here itself we are doing the viruddha things to the milk, like we have chilled it, we have poured it, it has undergone pasteurization, it has gone to the home, then gone to the refrigerator, then we remove it, then we heat it. So many things we are doing in and around. So in that sense itself, immediately after removing from the refrigerator, so the milk may aggravate Vata and Kapha as such when it is taken. So again we are heating it. So due to that, so the milk today what we are taking, it is not directly consumed from the milk like in villages it is applicable. So people may take directly from the udder of the cow and consume the milk. So in some practices also it may be done, but we in the city life and the modern organized life, we are not taking directly from the cow. So only once it has gone all through the filters, we are taking it. So immediate impact of Varsha Rutu, which stays for around 2 months on the milk and changing it on a daily basis, I don't think so. Minor changes may be there, but gross changes and immediate changes will not be there.
The question was, can cow's milk go through changes in rainy season? The simplest answer is yes, it goes into changes. But how much? Whether it is going to change its basic nature? No, it won't change the basic nature of the milk. For example, for purpose of understanding, in any other season, if cow milk is able to quench vata or quench pitta by 50%, maybe during rainy season, because of increased water in the atmosphere, even that may influence the quality of the milk. Thereby, it may come to 45%. That's only 3 to 5% or 7%. That much change will be there. But its basic nature of quenching its particular doshas or increasing particular doshas doesn't change to a large extent. But there will be variation depending upon the seasons. How the effect of seasons on human beings, in the similar way there will be effect of seasons on various animals as well as the food crops.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Gururaja sir said. That is the basic crux. So the base of what we need to discuss here. So the basic milk is milk. So slight changes may be there due to the effect of the climatic changes, but expecting gross things to happen, big things, big changes to happen, I don't think it will happen. So that is the basic thing. Milk is milk. Just as we as human beings respond to the nature or the climatic conditions. When there is winter, I'll wear a little bit of warmth. While it is rainy season, I'll definitely remember to carry an umbrella. When it is summer, I just search for light clothes. So just like that, it is a natural reaction of me to the climate, but it is basically me. So I don't change. So I change how I adapt to that particular climate or climatic changes. So the milk also or curd, whatever it is there. So there will be a response to that particular climate. So in all the food products and flora, fauna, animals, human beings, everywhere in the nature, but may not be the gross changes.
Can you just churn the cream of curd, milk, which rock sugar, and consume this mixture to increase weight on empty stomach around 11 a.m. or after lunch?
You see, it's typically the thing is why 11 a.m. Why the question has come as 11 a.m. or why after lunch? Very simple. We need to consume food only when we are hungry. That is a baseline. We need to keep that. Okay. When stomach is empty, it may be 11 a.m. or it may be 7 a.m. Whatever it is. If you are feeling hungry, if you want to increase the body weight and that, then definitely this type of combination definitely helps because it improves Kapha tattvas in the body. So it can be taken. But provided you should have sufficient agni to digest these things. So cream of the curd or cream and all these things, mixing with the sugar and churning it and making into something like a lassi, consuming it at 11 a.m. If you are on empty stomach and if you are feeling hungry, definitely you can take it. But after lunch, be cautious. If it is really you are feeling hungry, then you can go for it. Maybe after 3 hours after the food. But it is not soon after the lunch.
Thank you, sir. And then there is curd rice should be sweet or simply sour. It can be both. We have already discussed those qualities based on sweet or sour. Can we take curd in the form of Panchamrit every day morning on an empty stomach? We have published an article on Panchamrit. Just answer in brief, yes, it can be taken. It is a form of rasana, yes. In Bengal, a very popular sweet called Mishto Doi is made from curd and jaggery.
So there are so many sweets, particularly in Bengal. They prepare a lot of milk sweets. Rasgulla is one of the famous one. And they use all these combinations. There is no harm in it, but of course, whenever we make a such combination, that is typically depending upon the places where we live, the climatic condition, habituation, everything has an influence. Because we don't consume a similar type of sweets made out of milk items, how they consume so rampantly in West Bengal and those Bengal areas in the southern India, or even some part of the northern India. So there is a typical way of consumption. We are all habituated to that type of history. So we will have combinations. Of course, mixing the curd and jaggery and making something like Mishto Doi, it can be used, no issues. But if you are familiar to that and your body supports that, there is no problem. Otherwise, how can some Indian from where here we go and settle in somewhere in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and and we adjust to all continental foods. We eat everything. No, there's no issues as such. It can be taken.
Yeah, coming to Mishti Doi is that is Mishti and Dadi, that combination. So it is Bengal's favorite food. I think even it is considered as auspicious to start some works with. They start with Mishti Doi. So coming to that, it is a moreover a regional food, and since it is a regional food, people in Bengal have been used to take that food since ages. So like it has come through the genetic tolerance, like almost all the people, if they have not migrated, a certain part of the family has not migrated anywhere, and they are continuously in Bengal throughout so many heads of the generation, so many generations of a particular family. Probably taking Mishti Doi will not affect anything at all. So because it is the regional food, it is their cultural food, and they are used to that geographical food, and that might definitely not make because it is a practice, Oka Satmya, and also it has become much more than Satmya for those people. So definitely it will not do any harm. One example I want to give here, if it is not out of context. I belong to a place called Ballari in Karnataka, where people eat lot of chilies, like chili bonda. So mirchi bonda or chili bonda, a stuffed, this one not capsicum. It is the spicy chili itself which has been stuffed, and people eat plenty like it is a regional food there. There was also a research long back. Nowadays, due to pollution, things have changed. That cases of asthma and bronchitis were very less in Ballari. Respiratory conditions were very less. That was also credit was given to excessive consumption of chili. Very strangely, number of gastritis cases or duodenal or the peptic ulcer cases was less in Ballari, in spite of people taking a lot of chili. Me personally, in my childhood till adolescence, we used to take a lot of chilies and chili bondas at home. It was like a family food, regional food. If people don't eat those mirchi bonda, they are not considered as belonging to Ballari. Okay, so that is what with high collared I can tell. I eat mirchi bonda. That is why I am a Ballarian, or I am a Ballarian because I eat mirchi bonda. If you don't eat, you don't fit there. So even today, people eat a lot of mirchi bondas. And one question is why people have less gastritis cases, less peptic ulcer cases, because through generations the stomach has become tolerant to the mirchi and mirchi bonda, that people nowadays the immunity is becoming less. I'm not speaking about the immunity, unless otherwise people are very tolerant. Now that I stay in Bangalore, it is pretty a long time that I've left Ballari. Even a single chili or half a chili somewhere in the food, I will not tolerate it, because that practice has been discontinued. Now if I go to Ballari and eat mirchi bonda, I will definitely not tolerate it, because there is a discontinuance of my practices. I will not tolerate it. And similar was the way why people had less respiratory cases in Ballari. So that was contributed to the Ushna Guna of the mirchi bonda and the hot and spicy food the people are taking. And see, Ballari, once people used to tell, Ballari has only 2 seasons, summer and very hot summer. Even now, even in winter, we will feel that warmth. Even in rainy season, we will feel that warmth in Ballari. So in spite of so much of heat being prevalent in and around, people eat a lot of spices. It is on the other way, they should eat sweets and other things which counteract the heat, but people eat spices. So here it works like a viparitartakari, like similar things taken together, so might counteract vishasya vishaushadam, like that particular concept. There is a big concept in Upashaya Anupashaya Prakarana. So here I think the light things are neutralizing the effects. So the hot season, the hot food stuffs taken, and the tolerance of the person, everything is neutralizing, and the person is not feeling any discomfort. So probably such principles apply to the geographical foods, regional foods, what we are using, accustomed foods, and the foods which we have been used to over a period of time and through generations.
See, we should understand another important point here. So whenever Acharya very clearly attributed certain gunakarmas to each and every type of drug or automatic food preparation, whatever it is that only when you consume that type of things as a whole, totally same thing, then you will have that influence. See, whenever there is a popular practice of eating some Mishto Doi, that is 1 spoon or 2 spoon we eat it in the morning as a Shubha or something like that, or something should be started with sweet and jaggery. That's something people even in Maharashtra also they start with dahi and combination of sugar candy. It's common practices. So this is only that how much we take it that needs to be understood. It is not we are consuming as full of our stomach. It's only a few spoons, and when we eat 1 spoon or 2 spoon, and we anticipate that suddenly the effect or bad effect will happen with that. No, it's an influential effect could be seen only when it entirely responsible or turns into such a vipaka which can influence the doshas. So we need to understand that. It may be very popularly Amlarasa and Amla Vipaka. If you're taking only 1 spoon and you're eating 2 cups of rice and only 1 spoon of that, that doesn't make any sense there because it will be overmarketed by the masked by the other things. So that's why Rashi is one of the important thing in the food. Whatever the total quantity we consume, that also influences its effects or its gunas onto the body. So we need to keep in mind that just simply eating one piece and say that that will have a ushna in my body. No, you might have eaten something other than that, which is even much colder, much shita in nature. So it is a nullifying effect will be there. So we need to understand that whenever anything has to show its effect means it should predominantly overcome as a dominating vipaka at the time of digestion. Then only the things will happen.
There is a question on, like, it is said that Jaggery is Ushna. From my references, there are mixed opinions. Some people say it Ushna and some people say na Atishita, not so very cold. So it is said that Jaggery is Ushna or hot, so hot in, so it can increase Pitta dosha. So Jaggery is not beneficial when there are Pitta imbalances. Is there any way to make it balance, or best to avoid in that case? Part of this part was just answered by Gururaja sir now that with permutations or combinations would take care of the probable side effects. And this is na atishleshma karo dautaha srishtam mutra shakrat gudaha prabhuta krimi majjasruk medvamsa kapha paraha Is Purana patyascha navashleshma agni sadakrit. So new one, this is akin to say new honey, how it can potentially increase kapha doshas. Similarly, it is told old one is good, old one is hridya, congenial to heart, is explained. Another sloka says Adhauta Purana Nava. Washed or clarified, not clarified, new and old are the 4 ones. Saksharaha na atishitaha. It's not so very cold. Snigdha, etc. is told by Acharya Sushrita. And then Rajanagantu says Lagur Agni Deepana. So this indicates that it can potentially increase digestion strength, probably hot in that way. Guru sir, please.
It's very typically Jaggery or Guda is considered as Pitta Kara. Very typically, there is one reference saying that Tatra Matsya Kulaktamla Tilamasha Surahitaha Pane Mutram Mudaschittam Dadishuktam Cha Bhojane. That also very clearly indicates that all Ushna Dravyas or with Pitta Kara Dravyas are taken care of. So in that also Jaggery is one of them. And you might have even seen many a times for a young girl who has attained menarche will be fed with Jaggery and Tila as a combination. And they'll make a laddu out of that Jaggery and Tila that is given. It's very typically because it is Pitta Kara in nature, Ushna Vardaka. So that Pitta Kara and Ushna Vardaka nature influences the uterus or the Garbhakosha, and thereby it makes it cleanse itself very easily during the process of menstruation. So that is the reason they give it. And not only that, it also nutritive because she will be losing the energy and it will support the nutrition. For that reason that has given. And those who are already having a Pitta dosha related issues or diseases which are due to the increased Pitta, then you should definitely avoid taking Jaggery. There is another source you can go for it. You can go for Kandasita or the Sharkara. That will not be treated as Pitta Kara. It can be taken for the purpose of sweetening or the nutrition.
On the website, it is said that Purana ghee is not ideal when Agni is very poor, but at the same time, it is said that it improves digestive strength. Could you please clarify, is regular ghee also not ideal when Agni is weak? So this is again where the quantity comes into picture. This is true even for the just the ghee as such, not necessarily old ghee also. See, when a lamp is burning, we use ghee as fuel, and then lamp will continue to burn very well. It will be lit and it will. But if you pour ghee on the lamp, then the light will get extinguished. So similar is the case that Grita is Agni Deepana for sure, but when the Agni is too poor, then we need to take care. Gururaja.
Definitely. It's once again the quantity plays a very important role. See, when there is a Prajwalita Agni, if you put ghee onto that, it catches a fire like anything, like petrol. It catches a fire immediately. So many a times we have seen that when we are doing yajna, yaga, or the holy rituals, at that time on the Agni, where it's already in the flames, if you put ghee, it will going to increase the agni, and that too like a petrol it behaves. So, but same thing we could not see in case of oil. If you put oil, it won't catch the fire as such. So, based on this nature, we can say that Grita is Agni Vardhana provided. When it comes to Purana Grita, so we need to be very, very cautious here. What do you understand by the term Purana Grita? At least a Purana Grita should be a Grita of 1 year old at least. Can you imagine what will be the smell of Purana Grita? 1 year old, you will find whatever the tightness, if you keep it also, there will be a slight rancidity. So we should be very, very cautious, and it is not easy to consume that Purana Grita. Purana Grita is usually given where there is a typical health conditions which requires that. So otherwise, it is always a good quality, good quantity of Grita. Depending upon our Agni Shakti, we need to use it. Or in order to rekindle our Agni, in the first dose of our food or first morsel, we need to mix it with some hingu or jeera or Grita, combine it with the thing and eat it. So that is the better way of increasing our Agnis.
Thank you, sir. And dear doctor, can you please state the difference between freshly made and sour curd? Just how much quantity of Pitta and Agni it would increase. That is the difference we have already discussed. That clearly sour curd would increase the Pitta dosha and Agni very much, whereas the freshly made and slightly sour would not that much. Can cucumber be used in curd taken as a raita? A raita is very famous, and curd and cucumber is used. And most of the times coriander leaf and other things are used. And again, coming back to the theme of the day, that traditionally used many ingredients over a period of time, a lot of permutations and combinations might have tried before that, and they have arrived at this. And because other ingredients are there, there should not be a problem. But given that curd is not so very ideal to be taken daily, some precaution there is necessary.
One more thing I just wanted to add is Amla Dadi or whatever it is there, if we see through the rasas, Amla Rasa basically increases Pitta and Kapha. It only specifies Vata, Amla Rasa. So it is Pitta Kara and Kapha. That is why the first slide you presented, Dr. Hebbar. So there it is clearly said that Dadi has a tendency of Pitta Krut and Kapha Krut, Rakta Krut, all those things have been mentioned here. The sour taste itself, Amla Rasa itself is Pitta Kara as well as Kapha Kara. So it increases Pitta, also increases Kapha. Madura Amla Lavana or the Kapha increasing taste, Amla is there. Katu Amla Lavana or Pitta increasing taste, again Amla is there. So Amla is a common factor to increase Pitta and Kapha. Madura Amla Lavana, while increasing Kapha, also balances Vata. So Amla is a Vata balancing and Pitta worsening or Pitta aggravating taste, and also Kapha aggravating taste. So that rule should be applicable for the curds also. And coming to the previous context, what we were discussing about the ghee in small quantity, that was the right point you and our Gururaja sir also mentioned. The quantity does really matter. I just want to add here, when we are speaking about the simple things which cause dosha shamana, it is Taila which specifies Vata, it is Gruta which specifies Pitta, and it is Madhu which specifies Kapha. Simple basics what we learn in Ashtanga Hridaya. So when ghee is specifying Pitta, Agni Reva Pitta Antargataha. Agni Reva Pitta Antargataha. The Agni is situated in the Pitta itself. Agni is the form of Pitta and Pitta is the form of Agni in the body. It's a representation. So here when we are, Acharya means that when we are therapeutically using Gruta, whenever there is Pitta increase or Pitta has worsened, seeing and monitoring the quantity of ghee, it can be used to take Pitta under control. Pitta under control. Again, we need to see the Samavastha and the Nirama stage of Pitta. And Pitta is also a Drava Dhatu, that also we need to see. And again, pouring a plenty of ghee, even in the Pitta worse condition also, it may also hamper the Agni. So here a balance and a calculative method of using the Gruta in the Pitta, high Pitta conditions also is a must. That is one thing. Similar analogy has been given by Master Charaka in the Grahani Prakarana. There a question is arised, how can the increased Pitta Jagrahani, in the context of Pitta Jagrahani, how can an increased Pitta cause Agni Mandya? So increased Pitta should increase Agni also, because both are similar entities, dependent entities. How can an increased Pitta deplete the Agni? So the question is, the Dravatva of the Pitta has been increased there. Pitta has so many qualities, attributes, among that the Drava, that is the liquidity or the water content, is increased. So when it is increased, the fire gets diluted. So more the water quantity or the water content of Pitta, more the fluid content of Pitta, less the quality of Agni. So it loses its capacity to digest the food. So that is the context given there. Here also, applying the similar analogy with use of Gruta, a lot of Gruta poured into the stomach without considering the Agni, without considering the Pitta, may hamper Agni and Pitta. On the other side, Pitta is considered, Gruta is considered to be a Pitta Shamaka Dravya. So where to use it as a Pitta Shamaka? So where to use it as a medicament? How much to use it as a dietetic inclusion? So this needs to be judiciously decided. So that is one point I just want to add.
We need to understand, another important point while discussing about the qualities of Gritha. That is the difference between Gritha and milk. Both Dugdha as well as Gritha having a similar qualities. But Dugdha is not Agni Vardaka, whereas Grita is Agni Vardaka. That is the thing we usually explain while explaining the Prabhava of a Dravya, or examples when we give it. So that is the reason this is a typical combination, or by virtue of its nature or a special quality of the Grita, that it helps to increase the Agni. So that's why it is, even though it is Pitta Shamaka, it increases the Agni, but doesn't mean that it increases the Agni, it will also increase the Pitta. No, it is not like that. Pitta has many other qualities also. So it is going to increase the Pitta by increasing the other qualities, its nature, but may not be exactly increasing its whole of Pitta. So it is going to decrease the Pitta, but increase the Agni. This is because of its virtue of Prabhava.
Thank you, sir. And there is a question that...
Yeah, regarding this Agni itself, when we consider Jatra Agni, that is the basic Agni which controls all the other Agnis, or the Pachaka Pitta, which is located in the Agnisthana, that is Nabi or in the intestines. Its quality is said to be Tyakta Dravatvam. Tyakta Dravatvam. So that Pitta which is there in the stomach or the intestine, the Pachaka Pitta, it is not having Dravatva actually. So Tyakta Dravatvam. So it is free of liquidity or fluidity. Other people tell that Vyakta Dravatvam. So Dravatva is there, but in lesser quantity in comparison to the other Pittas. So this explanation is also there. So since it is Tyakta Dravatvam, so the fire is dry in nature, basically. So in Grahani, it will be impacted due to different etiological factors there. And since it is Tyakta Dravatvam, it is a dry form of Agni, it has a tendency to burn the food, digest the food, and properly convert the food. So it is a basic nature of the Agni. So in that, when we give a little bit of ghee every day, small quantity of ghee, that will help, as Gururaja sir rightly pointed out, it will help in kindling the Agni. So the Agni will be in balance. Agni wants the diet in the form of ghee. So that ghee will keep the fire activated. But on the other side, Dr. Hebbar rightly pointed out, like if we pour ghee even on a very good fire, so it may extinguish. If that is a habit, it can extinguish. Here we need to see the physiological aspects of using the Grita as Agni Vardaka and also balancing Pitta, and the therapeutic use of Grita for Pitta balancing where there is high Pitta, including the Jatragni. So here we need to make a difference, how much and what quantity of Grita should be used and when, and how much impact it has on the Agni and also the Pitta, that needs to be taken into concern.
Quickly going through the comments here. I know that the appropriate quantity of ghee depends on the state of Agni and season, but sometimes it's difficult to understand how much is too little or too much. Is there a recommendation or an average minimum that should be used for relatively healthy person, for which 1 to 2 teaspoon of ghee is ideal for healthy person per serving per meal, which is what we use. Which important nutrients people miss out on when they don't or cannot consume cow's milk and other products derived from cow's milk, apart from calcium, healthy fats, and how to substitute them. One thing is that the milk, apart from its milk is not just taken because it has calcium or one or the other nutrient value. For the wholesomeness of it and the overall benefits of it, dosha balancing, kapha nourishing, improving the strength, immunity, for all those things is taken. But it's not like, if somebody is, for example, is adopting vegan, there's nothing like, nothing, there's no concept like substituting. If only if some person was habitually taking milk, and he was almost as if not able to live without milk, and suddenly he has become vegan, which is very rare. But only in those places substitution would come into picture, but otherwise is not.
Acharya Shishruta very clearly said in Ajasrika Rasayana that everybody should on everyday basis should consume dugdha and kshira. Very clearly Acharya sir very said. So it is our duty to get the good quality and quantity and a type of milk and ghrita and consume it in the healthy way. That's our need. We want to replace it and we want to have the effect of these things. Replacement is always a replacement. It cannot replace anything in its totality. It will be some adjustments. So definitely not for the sake of calcium or healthy fat or something like that, we are not consuming the milk or the what you call ajya, that is the ghrita. It is for the swastha hita. It maintains the healthiness of a person or a health of a person. For that reason, we consume. So, Acharyas, whatever they have said for the purpose of humanity and for the purpose of benefit of everybody. That's the reason we should take it in a straightforward manner, that Acharyas are not biased and they are very clear in their approach, and it is their lifetime observations, and maybe because of Divya Chakshu, they understood it very well and they have explained it. So that's the reason. For Ajastika Rasayana, Kshira Grithabhyasam very clearly said, we need to have that A2 cow milk and its gritha and consume it in a healthy manner as per our body requirement.
How to approach consumption of ghee when pitta and kapha are increased? One clear differentiation is that all the rules and health benefits explained are when the person is already healthy. If person has pitta and kapha disorder, maybe obesity, vascular disorder, cholesterol, and whatnot, so then the rules would change.
We should not take it in that sense. See, Acharya has very clearly said which are swasthahita dravyas. So these dravyas, if you consume in a proper quantity, it won't influence your doshas in such a way that can produce a disease. That's why they are kept under the category called swasthahita. So ghrita and milk both are kept under swasthahita category by Acharya Shishruta. So very clearly, these things will not going to increase your pitta and kapha in such a way that it can cause problem. So it entirely depends on how much you consume. If you consume with little, almost 100 ml to 60 ml, 50 ml, that type of thing, then definitely it may cause some problem. It may even cause in a healthy person also some disease. So we need to be taken in a prakrita pramana, that is very typically how much is required for a healthy person. In that category or boundary, if you consume, it definitely won't increase the things. And pitta and kapha increased person, then the question will be that where you understood and how you understood the person's pitta or kapha is increased. My question comes there. So if you clarify those where based on which lakshanas, if you're saying it is pitta and kapha is increased, then we can say whether that can be taken with that. But as a general rule, consumption of 1 to 2 spoons of ghee per serving or a meal doesn't influence or cause any disease or any influence on the doshas in an adverse way. So it can be consumed healthily.
To pacify vata pitta, ghee is recommended, but if the person is vata pitta but has high cholesterol, how much ghee should be consumed, or what are the substitutes of ghee are available in that case? There are many studies done on this aspect, and it is clearly mentioned. I'm just quoting one more from PubMed, that ghee increases HDL and healthy amounts of ghee. Again, quantity specific. And can also maintain or lower LDL and VLDL. First of all, this cholesterol theory itself is confusing, and self-contradictory in many which ways. If someone is believing this HDL thing, it is good. So consuming healthy amounts of dose as specified by Gururaja sir does not cause any adverse effects per se. And as a last point, we are joined with Dr. Rajinikanth Patel.
So when
Namaste.
we read most of the Vata Vyadhi Nidana in Charaka or Susrut or either in Vagbhata, majority disease have common cause for Vata Vyadhi, that is a Ruksha Annapan Sevana. So what Guru Raja sir has told, I will strongly support it that nobody should eat any food item which is devoid of any Sneha Dravya. Either it should be containing black sesame oil or cow ghee. So Ruksha Annapana consuming daily will increase the Vata dosha and majority of the Vata Vyadhi will happen due to this. And in Swastha Vrutta Charak Sutra Sthana, Charaka has mentioned some Nitya Sevaniya Dravya. For example, Madhu is Nitya Sevaniya Dravya, Kruta is Nitya Sevaniya Dravya in that. So Gruta will never ever cause any bad effect on the person's body. Let it be Vat Prakriti, Pit Prakriti or Kapha Prakriti. Condition is that it should be genuine Desi cow ghee. So without worrying or without taking any tension, one should eat cow ghee daily in their food. That's what I wanted to add here.
Thank you all. See you in the next session of Guru Bodha. Namaste.